The Cadaver Synod. What if I told you a pope once put a dead man on trial? Not in secret, not as rumor, publicly, officially. In the year 897 in Rome, a decomposing corpse was dressed in papal robes, seated on a throne, and judged for crimes. This is the story of the Cadaver Synod. The late 800s were chaotic in Rome. The papacy was not just spiritual power, it was political power. Noble families fought for influence. Emperors battled for control. Alliances shifted constantly. Popes rose quickly, and they fell just as fast. In the middle of this turmoil stood Pope Formosus. Formosus had served as a bishop and diplomat. He traveled, negotiated, built alliances. He also made enemies, powerful ones. During his reign, he crowned a rival emperor in an ongoing political struggle. That decision would come back to haunt him. Formosus died in 896. Most assumed his political troubles ended there. They were wrong. A new pope took office. His name was Stephen VI, and Stephen despised Formosus. Why? Because Stephen supported the opposing political faction. To him, Formosus had betrayed Rome. Stephen wanted revenge, but Formosus was already buried. So Stephen made a decision that shocked even medieval Rome. He ordered Formosus's body exhumed. 9 months after burial, the grave was opened. The corpse was removed, rotting, decaying, barely intact. But that did not stop Stephen. The body was dressed in full papal vestments, placed upright on a throne, and brought into a church courtroom. Clergy gathered, spectators watched, candles flickered against stone walls. The smell of decay filled the air. A deacon was appointed to speak for the corpse. Yes, a dead pope had legal representation. Stephen VI stood before the body and began shouting accusations. He charged Formosus with perjury, with illegally becoming bishop of Rome, with violating church law. The corpse, of course, said nothing. The deacon answered weakly on its behalf. But this was never a fair trial. The verdict had already been decided. Formosus was found guilty while dead. Stephen ordered the papal garments stripped from the corpse. Then he ordered something even more disturbing. The 3 fingers used to give blessings were cut off. His papal acts were declared invalid. Ordinations reversed. Decisions erased. The authority of his reign wiped away. The body was buried again. But that still wasn't enough. Soon after, it was dug up a second time and thrown into the Tiber River, like garbage. Rome reacted. Even in an era known for brutality, this went too far. Public outrage spread. Whispers turned to anger. Stephen VI began to lose support. Within months, he was overthrown, imprisoned, and strangled in his cell. The man who judged a corpse died violently himself, but the story did not end there. After Stephen's death, the political tides shifted again. The church reversed its decision. Formosus' body was recovered from the river, reburied with honor. His papal acts were restored. The Cadaver Synod was declared invalid. Future popes banned trials of the dead. Rome tried to move on, but history remembered. Why did this happen? The Cadaver Synod was not about faith. It was about power. The papacy during this era was deeply entangled with aristocratic Roman families. Popes were backed by factions, and when factions changed, enemies were punished. Stephen VI needed to destroy Formosus's legitimacy. If Formosus's reign was illegal, then his political decisions were void. It was a brutal strategy. Erase the man, erase his influence, even if that meant putting a corpse on trial. Historians often point to this event as a symbol of the Saeculum Obscurum, the so-called Dark Age of the papacy, a time when corruption, violence, and political manipulation dominated Rome. The Cadaver Synod stands out because it feels unreal, almost theatrical, but it reveals something deeply human. Institutions are not immune to ambition. Religious authority does not erase rivalry, and power, when threatened, can act irrationally, even grotesquely. Imagine standing in that cathedral, watching a decomposing body propped on a throne. hearing accusations hurled at silence. Would you have spoken out or stayed quiet? History rarely gives us easy answers, but it does give us warnings, because the Cadaver Synod was not just about a dead pope. It was about insecurity, about vengeance, about what happens when authority becomes obsession. Today it sounds absurd, but it happened in one of the most powerful institutions in the world, and it reminds us, power does not always corrupt quietly. Sometimes it puts a corpse on trial. If you enjoy strange, dark, and unbelievable true history, subscribe. Because the past is not just dramatic, it is unpredictable, and sometimes it is disturbing. One event can ripple through history, affecting centuries. How would Rome have evolved without such turbulence? Without power struggles that spilled beyond the grave? It's fascinating to see the echoes of the past in today's world. When leadership falters, when ambition overrides ethics, and when those in power serve their own needs over the people's. As we uncover these stories, we shine a light on the lessons drawn from such macabre periods. They remind us of human resilience, but also the dangers of unchecked authority.